Part 157. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1561. If the gunpowder in the body of Muhammad, the king of Khwarezm, could be detonated, this battle would become much easier. Such an obvious explosion would definitely shake the morale of most Mongolian soldiers, especially the tens of thousands of people gathered near the palace. They saw with their own eyes that the explosion wiped out the core high-level officials of the Mongolian Empire. From the Khan to the princes and grandsons, from the prime minister to the captain of 1,000 men, they were basically blown into pieces. These tens of thousands of people must have scattered and quickly spread the news throughout the city, so the remaining Mongolian soldiers would not have to fight anymore. They either surrendered or fled. Considering that the Mongols had killed countless people in the 3 years of attacking Khwarezm, and every Mongolian soldier had blood on his hands, they would most likely choose to flee, and it was hard to say how many could escape back. Unfortunately, things in the world cannot be as expected, and the explosives did not explode. Although the poison on Wanyan Hungli and others also poisoned the high-level officials of the Mongols, there was no visual impact. It did not have the effect of immediately shaking the morale of the army. Most of the Mongolian soldiers on the periphery knew nothing and continued to fight. The soldiers closer to the palace, on the contrary, heard the news that the king of Khwarezm and Wanyan Hungli had died, and their morale was even higher. The soldiers closer to the palace only knew that there was some turmoil in the center, but they didn't know the details, and thought it was nothing serious. They were still calm and waited for the fruits of victory to fall. Only the soldiers closest to the core did see the princes and generals fall to the ground. But they were not injured. They hurried forward to help, and they were also confused. Since there were no wounds, they did not think that all the officials had died, but just suspected that they had been possessed by evil spirits. Fortunately, Taoist master Qiu Chuji of Changchunzi and his disciples were behind the army, and such a small matter as being possessed by evil spirits would naturally be solved by someone. Therefore, the morale of these Mongolian soldiers remained stable. Qiu Chuji came here specifically to fool Genghis Khan, but he never expected that it would have such a counter effect. It is really true that man's plans are not as good as God's plans. Of course, this was just a minor setback. Genghis Khan and other Mongolian top leaders had been eliminated, and the outcome of this battle had already been determined. In the palace of Khwarezm, a full-bodied voice shouted, "The Mongolian Khan is dead. I am the invincible General Wang Feng. All the Khwarezmian troops listen to my order, kill." This shout resounded through the sky. Everyone in the palace and everyone within 2 or 3 miles of the palace heard it clearly and deafeningly. Most Mongolians would naturally not believe it easily. Your palace is still surrounded by my army. The Khan is protected by tens of thousands of troops. How can it be so easy to die? However, the nearby Khwarezmian soldiers and citizens believed it. Because Wang Feng was already popular in Samarkand. Due to his outstanding military exploits, when Wang Feng presented the head of Jeb to King Muhammad, with the help of Wanyan Hungli, he was named the invincible general of Khwarezm and commanded about 1/3 of the troops in the city. The other 2/3 of course was still in the hands of the old king's trusted ministers. They were also wary of the old poison. The top leaders of the country still looked down on this Westerner who climbed up from the bottom. However, in the middle and lower levels, Wang Feng's fame has climbed to the highest point, and all the soldiers in the city admire and respect him. Since he said that Genghis Khan was dead, he must be dead. The excited soldiers and civilians of Khwarezm immediately spread the news to the whole city. The army bravely rushed out from various hidden places and fought with the Mongols with 100 times the courage. At the same time, from the Khwarezmian palace, Wang Feng and the 4 masters, each led a group of thousands of soldiers and horses, bravely rushed out and attacked the Mongolian army that surrounded the palace. Some careful readers must have found a few problems. The first problem. The Mongols had at least cleared more than half of the palace. How could there be so many soldiers? Where did they hide? Of course, they hid in the tunnel. This was arranged by Nanziran, promoted by Wanyan Hungli, and ordered by the king. All the soldiers and civilians in the city worked together to prepare the last and strongest means in Samarkand, tunnel warfare. It obviously borrowed the wisdom of another world. The strange man from the far island records that tunnel warfare was a powerful tactic adopted by China when it was invaded by Japan. It is very suitable for the current situation in Samarkand. The combat effectiveness of the Mongolian army is too strong. Once the assassination plan fails, it will depend on these tunnels to defeat the Mongols. This complex multi-layer tunnel system is spread all over the underground of the city, and they are all interconnected. It forms a huge underground fortification that can fight and hide, and is waterproof, fireproof, and anti-poison. It stores a large amount of food, clean water, and military supplies. Enough for a whole year. The reason why Xiaoming waited in the Mongolian army for more than half a year before offering the strategy of airborne breaking the city was nothing more than waiting for the city to build this fortification. King Muhammad was a foolish man and did not want to adopt the strategy of underground warfare. He felt that it was a futile waste of military strength. If the Mongols occupied the ground, what would be the point of hiding underground and only occasionally firing cold guns? Wouldn't it be the end of them trapping you to death underground? Wanyan Hungli said to him eloquently that this was to let the soldiers and civilians of Samarkand use this fighting method to buy time for the king. In fact, we need to arrange special personnel to secretly dig a tunnel out of the city. But don't tell the people below. Once the city is breached, we can escape from Samarkand while the Mongols are burning, killing and looting in the city, and being harassed by the soldiers and civilians in the city. Reorganize the army and then take revenge. However, the escape can only be carried out after the Mongols enter the city. After all, the tunnel cannot be dug too far, at most a dozen miles. In the end, we still have to escape on the ground. If the Mongolian army is outside the city, their reconnaissance range covers hundreds of miles. Even if we leave the city through the tunnel, the Mongols will find and catch us. So we must let the Mongols enter the city first, let them be held back by the soldiers and civilians in the city, and then we can run. Otherwise, the city will be pacified early, and the Mongols will definitely chase them out again. How to delay time? Then we can only rely on tunnel warfare. This is the best way to level the gap in combat effectiveness between the two sides. The Mongolian cavalry fought very bravely, and the group combat effectiveness was also very strong. Therefore, the Khwarezmian army and civilians could not engage in large-scale battles with the Mongols on the ground. It is necessary to use the extensive network of tunnels to easily deploy troops and form a situation of local superiority. Outnumber the inferior, take advantage and run. In the houses on the ground, various hidden weapons can be set up. Trap the Mongols. They will even open some tunnel entrances for the Mongolian army to find. Just ask if you dare to come in. You definitely cannot ride a horse in the tunnel. If the Mongols want to enter, they must come down one by one, and then wait to be dealt with by the Khwarezmian army and civilians. With this tactic, plus the participation of several masters such as Wang Feng, even if the Mongols finally win, at least half of them will die. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1562. The answer to the first question is already obvious. Khwarezm hid most of the soldiers and people in the tunnels. The second question is, Wang Feng led 4 masters and led 5 armies to fight out of the palace. Who are these 4 masters? A few months ago, when Nancy Ren visited Samarkand at night, she only saw Yang Ziweng and Ho Tonghai. Who are the other 2? I believe everyone can guess that it was Shatong Tian, the Dragon King of the Ghost Gate, and the Thousand-Hand Man who slaughtered Peng Lianhu. Is this moving Prince Zhao's mansion here? They were originally leading their bandits to cause trouble in the kingdom of Jin in the name of King Zhao Wanyan Hongli. Get ready to join League of Legends at any time. Xiao Ming ordered Wanyan Hongli to summon these two troops to Samarkand in his own name. Not only did the two masters come, they also brought many of their minions. There were thousands of people in total. Although the Chinese people have settled down and relocated, they are easily reluctant to leave their homes. But these people are carefree gangsters who don't love their homeland that much. When they heard that they could go to other countries to have fun, they followed their boss there. Xiao Ming screwed them together with Wang Feng. We will not leave these evils in the Central Plains. Of course, even in a foreign country, Nanziran still has to restrain them a little and not be too indulgent. Wei Guoran is also a human being. Shatongtian and Peng Lianhu, two masters with outstanding martial arts skills, were able to sneak past the Mongolian military camp and sneak into Samarkand. But their subordinates are in more trouble. Nanziran could only make arrangements and let the group wear Mongolian clothes and pass through Guojing's right army camp. Then he changed into the clothes of the Khwarezm people and entered the city from Wang Feng's defense area. After that, they hid in the tunnels under the palace, just waiting for the final decisive moment. If Wanyan Hongli failed in his assassination of Genghis Khan, these minions would be the main force in the tunnel battles. Their martial arts skills were more suitable for the terrain in the tunnels. Now that the assassination was successful, Wang Feng could see clearly from high in the palace. He was very confident in his poison. The senior officials of the Mongol Empire were considered to have lived their lives in vain if they could die from the poison of one of the five ultimates, Western poison. There is no shame in spreading the word. Seeing that the plan was successful, Lao Duwu immediately ordered the four masters of Prince Zhao's palace to each lead a mixed formation of Central Plains bandits and Khwarezm troops to fight out. There is no need to close the door and beat the dog, just chase the Mongolians and beat them hard. The battle started very smoothly. The five troops and horses came out of the tunnel that had been hidden in advance and ignored the Mongols who were still burning, killing and looting in the palace. Under the leadership of several masters, they attacked the enemy troops surrounding the palace. They think they are in a safe zone and are not very vigilant. And martial arts masters such as Wang Feng and Shatongtian are really too powerful. The first troops to engage in the battle were beaten to pieces and suffered heavy casualties. Thanks to the Mongolian army's long battle experience and well-trained training, they reacted quickly and organized a resistance, which was not defeated in one blow. They did not know that the Great Khan and the generals were dead, but their morale was still high and their resistance was very tenacious. The two sides were at loggerheads for the time being. But after a while, the situation changed. Because the senior generals never handed down any orders. The various units of the Mongolian soldiers had no cooperation and basically fought on their own. So many Mongolians thought of what Wang Feng had shouted before, and wondered if they were sweating profusely and died. Sure enough, the messenger cavalry sent out to ask for instructions from the Khan came back panting on horseback, shouting, "The big man is dead. The prince is dead, the general is dead, they are all dead." Such random shouting actually lowers the morale of the army. If there was a general in command, he would have killed the soldier who was talking nonsense. It's a pity that there are not many people with the power and vision to do such a thing, and most of them died beside the Great Khan and the generals. At this time, only some minor bosses are left in the team. Most of them are centurions, and it is not easy to see even thousands. It was impossible to kill the soldier who sent the message to stop the rumors. As a result, the morale of the Mongolian troops everywhere plummeted. Everyone shouted, turned around on their horses, and ran away, heading straight for the city gate. However, thousands of troops lacked coordination and collided randomly, squeezing each other into a ball. On the contrary, no one can run fast. The Mongolians have a bad temper. When they see someone blocking their way of escape, they will chop them with a machete, regardless of whether they are of the same race or not. Out of the 10 people, 3 were chopped down by their own people. The army and horses led by Wang Feng and several other masters immediately took advantage of the chaos to pursue and kill the Mongolians until rivers of blood flowed from them. Not only that, Shatongtian had 4 disciples, the 4 ghosts of the Yellow River, and Penglian, who also had many leaders. They were not all near the palace. According to the arrangements of Wang Feng, actually Nanziren, they were scattered in tunnels throughout the city, and each brought hundreds of troops and horses with them. Hearing Wang Feng's shouts from a distance, they immediately spread the news and led their troops to fight out from the tunnels and attack the Mongolian troops everywhere. When the news spread, other soldiers and civilians of Khwarezm responded quickly and rushed to the ground. There was a full bloom. At first, Temujin's men were besieged by troops led by Jamukha and Sankan. The 4 ghosts of the Yellow River once charged in front of thousands of troops and even rushed into the Mongolian army. If Guojing hadn't stopped them, a few generals would have died. At this level of martial arts, it can already play a certain role on the battlefield. What's more, there were no powerful generals in the Mongolian army at this time, and the other small leaders posed less threat to the Yellow River 4 ghosts, and they were beaten to a pulp. Of course, not all Mongolians are good for nothings. The soldiers secretly controlled by Nanziren played the role of the backbone at this time. Xiaoming had already implanted various plans in their minds. In this critical moment, they shouted loudly, saying that there must be a prince alive, and everyone just worked together to rush out of the city, and they would definitely find the prince. The prince would definitely take everyone home alive. In the face of this chaotic situation, as long as someone stood up and said something that seemed to make sense, everyone would blindly follow. Because they didn't have any ideas at all. What else could they do if they didn't listen to such people with ideas? So, there were always small groups of Mongolian troops gathering together, fighting and retreating towards the city. It also caused considerable losses to the Khwarezmian army. The art of war says, don't eat baited soldiers, don't stop the returning army. Be sure to leave a gap in the siege army, and don't chase the desperate enemy. The army that wants to go home is very tenacious. The Khwarezmian army and civilians are not strong in combat, so they naturally know the principle of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. They let go of these assembled troops and specifically looked for the headless flies running around to deal with them. It was a mess. This extremely chaotic battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The total losses of both sides were more than 100,000 people. The Khwarezmian army, led by Wang Feng, recaptured the capital Samarkand. And 60,000 to 70,000 Mongols escaped from the city, and under the leadership of the 4th Prince Tolui and the Golden Sword Prince Consort Guojing, they galloped to the east. The first westward expedition of the Mongols was completely declared a failure. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1563. The death of Genghis Khan is also the end of the entire The Legend of the Condor Heroes. Logically speaking, the main plot of this secret realm has been completed, and it should be like other secret realms with completed plots, with time and reality synchronized, and life should be normal day by day. However, because of Nanziren's mischief, the system believes that the main plot of this secret realm has not yet been completely ended. At least there is still a Hwashan sword contest that has not been carried out, so the Hwashan sword contest is set as the final plot. In this gap, the time in the secret realm will still pass relatively quickly. Many things are developing according to Xiaoming's pre-planned plan. Let's talk about Khwarezm first. King Muhammad died, and Wang Feng, the invincible general, has already controlled hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians in Samarkand. After the news of the great victory over the Mongols spread, more soldiers and civilians successively surrendered to him. The former generals of the army, such as Tahai Khan, Balashmaz Khan, Bala Khan, Sarksik Khan, and Albar Khan, died in battles with the Mongols or were quietly assassinated by Shatongtian, Penlianhu, and others. Not even one person who could carry the banner and compete with Wang Feng was left. Only Prince Jalaluddin Mingburnu was left alone. During the siege of Samarkand, he asked for help from nearby countries with the same culture and religion, and assembled an army of 100,000 to come to the rescue. However, he was quickly defeated by a Mongolian detachment in a field battle, and Jalaluddin fled to India. In theory, he was the legitimate heir to the throne of Khwarezm. But he was not stupid, and of course he did not dare to run into the tiger's mouth and run to Wang Feng's army to take over power. That was courting death. So after learning that the Mongols had fled after their defeat, he announced that he would succeed the king of Khwarezm, and promoted Wang Feng, Shatongtian, and others to high positions, all of which were at the level of local princes. I hope to appease them temporarily. As long as these people still belong to Khwarezm in name, it will be fine. In the future, when I slowly gather a large army, I will consider how to conquer them. This is also a conventional routine, which is all left over by the ancestors of China. Although Wang Feng is not a politician or a conspirator. But this method cannot be hidden from him. He and the four masters of the former Zhao Wangfu ignored the commander alone, Jalaluddin. Instead, according to Nanziran's previous plan, they united and established the tribe of Brave. It corresponds to the League of Legends in the East. In fact, Xiaoming has not come into contact with the world or secret realm with World of Warcraft as the background. It is completely a coincidence to create one East and one West, the Alliance and the Tribe. The establishment of the League of Legends in China borrowed the name of the League of Legends of the Reincarnation Organization. The establishment of the tribe in Central Asia is entirely because of Xiaoming's stereotype of the ethnic groups in this area. It feels like they are in the era of primitive tribes. What else can they be called if not a tribe? In fact, the Brave tribe is a union of 5 tribes. They are Wang Feng's venomous snake tribe, Shatongtian's crazy shark tribe, Penlianhu's tiger tribe, Liang Ziweng's wild fox tribe, and Ho Tonghai's fierce dragon tribe. Even the 4 ghosts of the Yellow River have established their own small tribes. It would be difficult for these masters to be county magistrates in the Central Plains. They don't understand the twists and turns of scholars at all. I'm afraid they will have to help count money if they are sold. But they live like fish in water in Central Asia. People here don't have so many tricks, and they especially admire force and respect warriors with strong combat effectiveness. Wang Feng and others in the Central Plains will only be regarded as brave men, not even good men. In Central Asia, they are regarded as supreme heroes and worshipped by thousands of people. It is clear at a glance where they should go. Han Chi's words, "Only those who call out names outside Donghua Gate are good men," really harmed the social atmosphere of the Song dynasty. Of course, this is not his responsibility alone, but the whole scholar official class has made a mess together. During the Song dynasty, most of the scholars lived very comfortably, but the country has been enduring great humiliation. The victims are hundreds of millions of ordinary people. Wang Feng and the other 5 can see it clearly. Why go back to the Central Plains to be a bandit? Isn't it nice to be a local emperor or a tribal leader here? With their ability to lead a gang, it is more than enough to lead a tribe of tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people. There will be no so-called knights to trouble them. How comfortable. The key is that if they choose to return to the Central Plains, the first enemy they have to face is probably the League of Heroes led by Nanziran. It's scary to think about it. Even Wang Feng is not willing to fight Nanziran now. What's more, he still needs help from others, and he doesn't want to offend Nanziran. So he voluntarily stayed in Samarkand. Since they are so sensible, Xiaoming certainly knows how to return the favor. He immediately followed the agreement and took out a batch of superior martial arts secrets to give to everyone. Needless to say, he took out 5 Shaolin unique skills: great movement, Arhat fist, powerful Vajra palm, clear and quiet finger, dragon claw hand. In Nanziren smuggled, there was actually a Vajra indestructible divine kung fu from Shaolin. Because this kung fu was too powerful, he was reluctant to give it to Wang Feng and others to practice. Wang Feng got all 5 books. The other 4 people each got a unique skill. The 5 people were overjoyed. The 72 Shaolin unique skills have long been famous all over the world. Although Shaolin Temple has not produced any top masters in recent years, people in the martial arts world still dare not underestimate them. Even the 9 Yin manual that has been widely circulated is actually in the same position as the 72 Shaolin unique skills in the minds of the majority of martial artists. Maybe it is even slightly inferior. This judgment is very correct. Although the internal strength of the 9 Yin manual is exquisite, it is only comparable to the Shaolin Yi Jinzheng. The various martial arts in the manual are indeed superb, but are the Shaolin martial arts worse? So whether it is Wang Feng or the 4 masters, no one thinks that Nanziren is fooling them, but they all think they have made a fortune. Of course, secretly, they are more afraid of Nanziren. You know, everyone in the world knows how powerful Shaolin's unique skills are. But even Wang Feng, a madman who dared to gather a crowd to cause trouble in Quanzhen sect, did not have the courage to go to Shaolin Temple to steal martial arts secrets. This shows that Shaolin's reputation is still there. Unlike the upstarts of Quanzhen sect, once Wang Chongyang died, others dared to bully them directly. The difference between the two is obvious. Only Xiaoming laughed secretly. Although Shaolin's martial arts are good, there are also some small troubles in it. If you don't have a compassionate heart, practicing Shaolin Kung Fu will be harmful to yourself. Xiaoming has hinted at this point, but it's hard to say whether they will obey. However, the 4 masters only practice 1 unique skill each, and Wang Feng will not practice more than 5 at most. Given their strong skills, the harm will not be too great. Ba, good, good. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1564. Tolui and Guojing led the remaining troops under their command and escaped from Samarkand. After that, they tried their best to gather the remnants of the defeated army and returned safely to the Mongolian territory. Fortunately, Wang Feng, Shatongtian and others had already established their own tribes and were busy dividing the territory of Khwarezm, so no one had time to pursue the victory. Of course, this was arranged early on to leave a breath for the Mongolian Empire. If Mongolia was completely destroyed, it would not be a good thing. As the army returned to the Mongolian grasslands, Nanziren, played by Xiaoming, joined forces with Qiu Chuji and others to complete the transformation of the Mongolian Empire regime. First, Nanziren conquered Tolui, who was just in his 20s. This young man is already an outstanding general and a guy who likes to massacre cities. He basically inherited all the shortcomings of his father Genghis Khan. In other words, the massacre after the victory of the war is a common bad habit of the grassland people. Tolui grew up in this environment and naturally didn't think there was anything wrong. However, his habit is not as deep-rooted as that of other Mongolians. It should still be reformable. After the Battle of Samarkand, only 2 or 3 generals above the rank of 1,000 men survived, and they were not important characters. However, Xiaoming did not relax. Except for a few people who had been controlled by him with the life and death talisman and the soul transfer method, all others were quietly killed by Nanziren and Quanzhen section. As a result, no one in the Mongolian Empire can compete with Tolui's authority. Soon Tolui successfully succeeded as the Khan of the Mongolian Empire, established Quanzhen sect as the state religion, and Changchunzi Qiu Chuji was named the Mongolian national master. Most of his disciples also had a high status and took over most of the power in the court. The remaining little power was almost all controlled by the Mongolians controlled by Nanziren. The country was temporarily under the full command of the beggar gang leader. Under the leadership of the Khan and the national master, Mongolia moved the capital to the northwest, indicating that the next development direction of the empire would be the west and the north. To the east of Mongolia, the western Liao dynasty has perished, while the Jin dynasty and the western Xia dynasty are still lingering on, but their strength is also very weak. Mongolia no longer cares about them, they are the target of the League of Legends. The Mongol Empire currently needs to recuperate for a period of time, and must first get out of the shadow of the failure of the Western expedition and the death of Genghis Khan. Next, whether to continue the Western expedition and touch Europe depends on the situation. Once the flow of time in the secret realm returns to normal, it will take at least 10 years to accomplish this. 10 years later, it is not certain whether I will continue to play games. Let's wait and see. Why does it seem that an important person is missing? Where did Guojing, the Golden Sword Prince consort of our Mongolian Western Expedition Right Army Marshal, whose status and prestige in the army are even slightly higher than Tului, go? That's it? Shortly after returning from the Western Expedition, Guojing left the Mongol Empire with Huangrong, riding a little red horse, carrying 2 eagles, and followed the 4th master Nanziren back to the Central Plains. The divine fortune teller Yinggu naturally accompanied him. Why didn't Guojing stay in Mongolia? There are several reasons. The superficial reason is that he wants to retreat bravely and does not want to compete with Enda Tului for the power of the empire and cause the country to split. In fact, the main reason is to escape marriage. Because Hua Zheng did not die in the Battle of Samarkand. She is chasing Guojing to get married. Although Xiaoming can bear to let the Mongolians suffer heavy casualties, he can't let this little princess who has never done anything really bad die. More than half of the Mongolian army died, but Hua Zheng was safe and sound. At this time, she only wanted to marry Guojing so that he could be the second to none in the Mongolian Empire. Even if Guojing wanted to overthrow Tului and become the Khan of Mongolia, she would probably support him strongly. It's strange, how did this Mongolian girl learn the Central Plains people's set of marrying a chicken and following the chicken, marrying a dog and following the dog? But Guojing only regarded Hua Zheng as a sister, and he didn't have the character of other men who loved every woman they met. He was not interested in being a sea king. The only person he loved in his heart was Huangrong. Huangrong was the same. She would not allow Guojing to enjoy the happiness of having 2 wives, and would not allow him to take concubines. Little Huangrong was very wary of Hua Zheng. In her heart, she always felt that Hua Zheng and Guojing were a perfect match, and she was the third party who intervened. In her words, "You two are a pair of white eagles in the desert, and I am just a swallow under the willow branches of Jiangnan." Seeing this, Guojing resolutely said that we should go home and get married, and not stay in Mongolia. Seeing that Guojing was willing to give up such great power and wealth, give up a princess of a country, and live with her, Rong'er finally let go of this grudge. She returned home with brother Jing and his wife. In fact, even if Guojing did not take the initiative to mention going home, Nanziren would take them back to the headquarters of the beggar gang. Because the overall situation in Mongolia has been determined, there is no need for him to stay and guide. Xiaoming has discussed the next policy for dealing with Mongolia with Qiu Chuji many times. Countermeasures have been prepared for various situations. Even Yin's Haiping and Yinggu, who served beside him, could recite it. Qiu Chuji naturally memorized it by heart. It would be redundant for him to stay. He should go back and develop the League of Legends. By the way, he also had to help Yinggu find trouble with Qiuqinren. This matter would extend to another book and the next generation in the original book. After Yangguo grew up, this case was truly resolved. It was hard to say whether the system would allow Xiaoming to deal with Qiuqinren in advance. In recent years, the League of Legends has achieved rapid development. The existence of Master Yideng has played a huge role. In fact, he was just receiving treatment from Zhang Ashan, Han Xiaoying and others with the secret of longevity at the Junction beggar gang headquarters. After his injury healed, although he was in charge of Junction, he usually didn't care about anything. On the contrary, the 4 apprentices he brought were very willing to take charge. The 4 of them were the Prime Minister, General, Naval Commander, and General Manager of the Imperial Guard of Dali. Emperor Duan was enlightened and voluntarily became a monk to atone for his sins. But the 4 of them did not have this feeling. They still protected Master Yiden with the idea of loyalty to the emperor. They have lived such a plain life for more than 10 years, and they miss their life in their hearts. This time when they came to the Junction headquarters of the beggar gang, Master Yiden's safety did not need to be worried at all. Let alone the tens of thousands of beggar gang members, the combat effectiveness of Zhang Ashan, Han Xiaoying, and Han Baoju alone was higher than that of the 4 of them. Everyone's martial arts skills are roughly at the same level, and there are even more fishermen, woodcutters, farmers, and scholars. But they are all used to being on their own and are not good at joining forces to fight the enemy. However, Zhang Ashan and others have mature formations to use, and their combat effectiveness is certainly incomparable. Since they are not worried about the safety of their master, the 4 of them can show their strengths in the beggars section. They call it repaying the kindness of the 7 freaks of Jiangnan for saving Master Yiden. In fact, they just can't sit still. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1565. The Junction headquarters of the beggars gang developed rapidly according to the general policy formulated by Nanziran. Within a radius of hundreds of miles, it is the sphere of influence of the beggars gang, or it can be called the base. The 3 elders Lu, Jian, and Liang are all pure people in the world. Although they listen to Nanziran's instructions, they are definitely not good at governing the local area. Fortunately, with the help of the 4 capable people of fishing, woodcutting, farming and reading, the base area has been able to develop at a very high speed. In fact, all government affairs in the base area are handled by the 4 of them to help the beggars gang. The officials arranged by the court are just decorations. The nearby gentry and landlords also support the beggars gang. This place has become an independent autonomous region. Such a big thing, did the Southern Song Dynasty court and the civil and military officials know nothing about it? Are they really so incompetent? Of course it is impossible. But the officialdom of the Southern Song Dynasty has been very corrupt, and it is normal to report good news but not bad news. As long as the beggars gang does not rebel openly, the taxes that should be paid will still be paid. The bureaucrats and gentry in this area will take the initiative to help cover up. This kind of thing must not be known to the court. Otherwise, it will not necessarily cause much trouble. The most feared thing is that Linen sends troops to suppress the bandits. TNND, those officers and soldiers are worse than bandits. Thieves are like combs, and soldiers are like combs. This is not a joke. In the Southern Song Dynasty, even if bandits really appeared in the local area, local officials and gentry would generally suppress it and not report it. Officials consider their own political achievements, and gentry consider their own property. Sometimes it is better to spend money to eliminate disasters than to report to the court. Although the beggars gang controls all affairs in the Dongting Lake area, they have not harmed the interests of officials and gentry, and they are not even bandits. Local people will naturally not cause trouble for the beggars gang. What's more, 3 years ago, Xiaoming had already controlled some of the nearby officials and gentry landlords. With them leading the pace within the landlord class, things will naturally develop in a favorable direction for the beggars gang. Of course, not all officials in the court are good for nothings. Most of those who can stand out in the imperial examinations are not stupid. But everyone has selfish motives. Shipping in the Yangtze River Basin has always been very developed, with tens of thousands of large and small ships coming and going every day. The changes in the Dongting Lake area over the past 3 years cannot be concealed from anyone. Even some senior officials in the court know that there is something fishy about this place. However, as long as you are not a particularly stubborn person, you will definitely not risk offending all the literati in this area and expose the matter to Emperor Zhao. It will hurt others and not benefit yourself. Everyone was very careful to cover the lid to ensure that the court received good news, and the situation was very good. The beggar gang army trained by Yang Taixin with Wu Mu's testament has been quite effective. After the Mongol expedition to the west, the beggar gang army vowed to march north. A Jianghu gang, the northern expedition to the Great Jin Kingdom, also shocked the martial arts people in the Central Plains. The beggars' army went to the Jin dynasty and fought guerrilla warfare everywhere, avoiding the real and attacking the fake, and they became stronger and stronger. The Han people in the north came to surrender. The Jin dynasty's original warriors who were able to fight and dared to fight had all died under the butcher knife of the Mongols before. When the beggars' army came, the remaining ones were basically cowards. Even if a few people still had the courage to fight, how could they be the opponents of the elite soldiers trained by Yang Taixin? Large numbers of villages and counties fell into the hands of the beggars' gang. All the government affairs in these places occupied by the beggars' gang were handled by Zhu Ziliu and others. Finally, he had a good time as the prime minister. However, the defense of the prefecture-level cities in the Jin dynasty was still strong. The beggars' gang was still mainly expanding the army and training soldiers, and did not rashly attack the big cities. They took the path of surrounding the cities with the countryside. Seeing the rapid momentum of the beggars' gang, several other forces in the League of Legends could not sit still. It seems that the Jin dynasty is nothing. It is easy to bully. We can't let the beggars sect take advantage alone. So they also organized armies to attack. As a result, they found that it was not that easy when the war started. The hastily organized army of the Iron Palm gang fought against the Jin army head-on, but they were not strong enough and were defeated. They wanted to ask the beggars sect for some occupied areas. Unfortunately, the alliance had already agreed on the rules: whoever conquered the place would own it. It could not be transferred at will. Qiu Qinren had no choice but to seize the time, reorganize the army, and prepare to come again. What the beggars sect can do, the Iron Palm gang should be able to do. As for the Quanzhen sect, Qiu Chuji was highly valued in Mongolia. So their power was advancing westward, gradually penetrating into the interior of the Mongolian grassland. They didn't care much about the ownership of the Jin kingdom. The two bandits in Dongting Lake and Tehu Lake were all their own people. They advanced with the beggars sect by water, and occupied a lot of territory near rivers and lakes. Later, the bandits in the Poyang Lake area could not sit still. Seeing so much fat meat right there, it would be a pity not to eat it. So they also joined the League of Legends, and now they just followed the two seniors to get a bite of soup. Even so, life is much better than in the Southern Song dynasty. At the beginning, the officers and soldiers of the Southern Song dynasty knew nothing about what happened in the Jin dynasty. After all, Mongolia and the Great Jin dynasty had fought fiercely not long ago. Tens of thousands of people died on both sides. The fierce and bloody scene scared the officers and soldiers of the Southern Song dynasty. For a long time, they hid in their own country and dared not show their heads. Later, as the news gradually spread, they learned that the Mongols had already withdrawn, and a group of Han Chinese called the League of Heroes were beating the Jin army to a pulp, and they were hiding in the big cities and dared not show their heads. The minds of these military leaders inevitably became active. They had no courage to fight the Jurchens, they dared not to go to war with the Mongols, but they were full of confidence in bullying the righteous army who were also Han Chinese. After all, the righteousness was on the side of the court. In the past, the righteous army active in the territory of the Jin dynasty was proud to be able to make friends with the Song dynasty. They were very good to the civil officials and military generals of the Song dynasty. The military leaders estimated that this so-called League of Heroes should be the same. So they sent their confidants to the north to contact. Some anxious ones even hid it from their superiors and directly led their troops across the border, hoping to take advantage of the territory controlled by the righteous army. The Song dynasty had always been afraid of the Jin dynasty, and they did not expect to get the credit for expanding territory. If this matter is reported, the court may chop off their heads and report to the Jin kingdom. So these generals in command actually just want to lead troops to the north to rob the people, rob themselves of money and women. Unfortunately, Nanziren was well prepared. The League of Legends will not attack the Song dynasty, but will never surrender to the Song dynasty. These guys made a wrong calculation. Those who sent envoys were better off, at most they were expelled from the country. Those who directly led troops to kill were completely wiped out by the League of Legends army, land, and sea cooperation. The generals who led the troops were beheaded, killing chickens to scare monkeys. The soldiers were left in the north as coolies to atone for their sins. This shocked most of the Southern Song army. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1566. In the League of Legends, except for the Quanzhen sect in the north, the headquarters of the Beggar Gang and the Iron Palm Gang are all in the Yangtze River Basin, and the same is true for the Water Bandits in the three major lakes. The border between the Jin dynasty and the Southern Song dynasty is actually in the Huaihe River Basin. When the League of Legends sent troops to the north, they had to pass through the defense zone of the Song army between the Yangtze River and the Huai River. If a regular army marched, it would not be possible to pass through. But the people of Jianghu are different. When Yang Taixin went north, he let the Beggar Gang army break up in advance, quietly cross the area controlled by the Song army, and regroup in the territory of the Jin dynasty. And the various supplies such as baggage and food needed for the war had already been quietly prepared by the Beggar Gang in the territory of the Jin dynasty during the training time in the past few years. In the past few years, with the cooperation of Wanyan Hongli, the Beggar Gang did a lot of preparatory work in the territory of the Jin dynasty, so that the Beggar Gang's northern expedition could proceed smoothly. Of course, the help of various martial arts masters was indispensable. Thousands of Jianghu heroes came from all over the country, regardless of the cost or reward, to cooperate with the Beggar Gang in the battle, just for the national justice in their hearts. Later, Old Man Hong Kigong also came in person. Nanziren took over as the leader of the Beggars sect because Hong Kigong was injured and gave up his position. After giving up his position, he and Lao Wantung have been recuperating on Peach Blossom Island. Ke Zheni, Zukong, and Quanzhenfa have also been taking care of them on the island. By the time the news of the establishment of the League of Heroes reached Peach Blossom Island, their injuries had already healed. Hearing that the new leader Nanziren had made such a big news, Lao Wantung was the first to get restless and shouted that he wanted to go to Junshan to watch the excitement. Hong Kigong cares about the Beggars sect, and Ke Zheni and the other two also want to go to the League of Heroes as soon as possible to take charge and support the fourth brother. In fact, they are planning to show their faces. The most important thing for people in the rivers and lakes is reputation. Nanziren became the leader of the League of Heroes, and in fact, he is as famous as Wang Chongyang, which makes the eldest brother Ke Zheni very happy. Of course, he has to go to the League of Heroes to let everyone know who the leader's eldest brother is. Alas, the eldest brother is such a person. Only Huang Yaoshi doesn't like such boring things. He began to concentrate on studying the works of Nancy Ren that the messenger brought. Do you remember? Nancy Ren had been writing, copying, books while healing Tan Chujuan in Liujia village. He started by copying textbooks from elementary school science classes, and continued to copy math, physics, and chemistry from high school. He also dabbled in biology, geography, history, and other subjects. When copying history, one must be extra careful not to copy history after the Song dynasty, otherwise it would be a mistake. In fact, one must be careful when copying geography books, because the geography of China has not remained unchanged for nearly 1,000 years from the Southern Song dynasty to the present. It is not appropriate to copy all modern maps. However, even if modern maps have some errors, it does not matter, as they are at least 10 times better than the existing maps of this era. Xiaoming specially arranged for the beggar gang disciples who sent the letter to Peach Blossom Island to bring a few copies of these textbooks. Geography and history are fine, but mathematics, physics, and chemistry suddenly opened a brand new door for Huang Yaoshi. It turns out that learning can be done this way. Huang Yaoshi is well versed in astronomy, geography, the 5 elements and 8 diagrams, Kimandungia, calligraphy and painting, and even farmland irrigation, economics, and military strategies. It can be seen that he is very interested in learning new knowledge. And the 3 subjects of mathematics, physics, and chemistry are all subjects that can be studied for a lifetime. They immediately attracted the attention of Dong Xie. The most important thing is that this knowledge can be verified with what Huang Yaoshi has learned before. He has already noticed some knowledge points, but he has not systematically summarized them. After seeing them in the textbook, he will feel sympathetic and think alike. When he sees more advanced places, he is completely fascinated. When Hong Kigong and others left the island for Junshan, Huang Yaoshi did not follow. He stayed on Dehua Island to study hard and be a 3 good student. If he had known that Dong Xie would be like this, Xiaoming should have copied thousands of papers for the middle school entrance examination and the college entrance examination. Let Huang Laoxie test how well he has learned. Well, the real purpose is to let Huang Yaoshi also taste the pain of being dominated by the exam. But I guess he would be happy with it. On the way, the old naughty boy heard that Master Yideng was in Junshan, and he left the main group with a strange cry, and no one knew where he ran to. Hong Kigong, Ke Zhenyi, and others returned to Junshan and had a great reunion with Master Yideng. At the same time, he also learned about the various arrangements made by Nan Ziren, and was secretly amazed. In fact, Nan Ziren did nothing, just plagiarized the routines of various time travel novels, and the real specific affairs were done by others. Xiaoming would definitely not be able to do it well by himself. After hearing about Yang Taixin's northern expedition, these people couldn't sit still. With the national justice in front of them, Hong Kigong, Ke Zhenyi and others chose to go north to help in person. Anyway, the Junshan headquarters has Master Yideng's lineage to help watch, so Hong Kigong is very relieved. It is precisely because Hong Kigong, Ke Zhenyi, and others personally went north to sit in the beggar gang army that the 3 elders of the beggar gang can stay in Junshan with confidence and continue to farm. The 4 of them were highly skilled in martial arts. With them acting as fierce generals in the army, the guerrilla warfare commanded by Yang Taixin could be fought very smoothly. Therefore, while Nan Ziren, Guojing, Wang Feng, and others were shining on the battlefield of Khwarezm, Hong Kigong, Ke Zhenyi, Zukong, and Quan Jinfa were also sweeping the battlefield of the Jin kingdom. Everyone was striving for more living space for the descendants of Yan and Huang. Xiaoming came back and found that everything was moving in a better direction. Guojing and Huangrong were not able to get married because of state affairs. They were sent north by Nan Ziren to help Yang Taixin share the heavy responsibility. After several years of experience in the Mongol expedition to the west, Guojing has now grown into an outstanding military commander, and Huangrong is also qualified to serve as a senior military advisor. These are the talents that the beggars gang lacks the most. Before departure, Guojing joined the beggars gang as expected and was directly promoted to the 9 bags elder. He is temporarily on par with the 3 elders Luji Unliang. In the eyes of everyone, Nan Ziren is paving the way for his disciples, and Guojing will definitely be the next leader of the beggars gang in the future. Hearing this kind of discussion, Xiaoming smiled bitterly in his heart. Jinger seems, probably, as if, he can't live longer than himself. Okay. If you want to pass the throne to him normally, you have to wait at least 20 to 30 years. You have to pretend to be old or injured before you can pass the throne. It's really troublesome. Besides, this secret realm will be synchronized with the real time. Can the martial arts planet game really last for decades? In a few years, Sheneng 2 will reach its target area, Wolf 359 galaxy. If that galaxy is convenient for colonization and development, maybe Captain Zinku, the commander-in-chief of the Sheneng project, will turn off the game and let everyone devote themselves to the colonization work, so that everyone will not be addicted to the game and forget about the real work. If he turns off the game, he may not be able to continue playing. I hope the captain will not be so cruel. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1567. Master Yideng, please don't delay. In fact, I don't have good intentions. I'm just greedy for your 4 disciples. To tell you the truth, without the help of a few of them, let alone the alliance, I'm afraid even the beggars' gang would be in chaos. I also ask the master to condescend to be an elder hero, please. In a quiet room at the head of the beggar clan Junction, Nanziren earnestly begged Master Yideng to join the League of Legends, even in a low voice. Before, the 4 fishermen, woodcutter, farmers, and readers only helped take care of it because Nancy Ren was away. Now that the leader is back, they must return power to Nangzi Ren no matter what. Even though both parties trust each other quite a bit, this still has to be done. Don't let others think that the Duan family of Dali wants to occupy the magpie's nest and usurp the guest. The relationship between Dali and Song dynasty has actually always been good. But the people in the world, and even the people in the territory, cannot accept the Dali people's long-term control of the League of Legends and the beggar clan. In fact, people in Dali may not be selfish. It's just that their current selfish intention is to use the power of the Song dynasty to block the barbarians behind them, which is completely consistent with Xiaoming's purpose. Master Yideng and Yukiao Zhengdu are really not power-hungry people. Otherwise, Emperor Duan would not have become a monk back then, and the 4 of them would not have given up their high status and salary to follow Yideng. Xiaoming is quite relieved about them. Besides, the beggar clan's greatest military power is in the hands of Nanziren's cronies. Even if they have different intentions, they can't make too big a splash. After all, many people in the Junction base are under Xiaoming's control. They are located in all walks of life and serve as eyeliners. If there is any change in Dali's monarchs and ministers, they will be discovered immediately. Since he could use them with confidence, Xiaoming simply brought them into the League of Legends. He offered to give Master Yideng the position of elder. So Zhu Ziliu, who was serving Yideng, advised him, Master, since the leader is so sincere, you might as well agree. This is also a good thing for me, Dali. Zhu Ziliu knew how to measure, and even pointed out clearly that joining the League of Legends would be beneficial to Dali. To show that you are upright and not hidden. Epsilon equals Omicron asterisk, oh, that's all right, Master Yideng sighed and said, I will accept this elder shamelessly and ask the leader for more advice in the future. How dare you? I still have a lot to learn from you. Please give me your enlightenment, Master. The 2 parties settled the matter after a few polite words. In fact, this is just a formality. As early as when Nancy Ren was still fighting in Khwarezm, Master Yideng and his 4 apprentices had an in-depth discussion on the League of Legends. Consider all factors. The 4 fishermen, woodcutter, farmers, and readers all persuaded the master to join the alliance. Dali needs the League of Legends to succeed and gain a firm foothold. This plays a vital role in the security of Dali and the lives of Dali people. Even if you become a monk, you cannot completely ignore this matter. And with Master Yideng's status, an elder hero would definitely not be able to escape. This will better guide the development direction of the alliance. The most important thing is that you can know a lot of information in advance. If the alliance has any unfavorable trends for Dolly, it can also make some preparations in advance. Of course, this possibility is very small. The current guiding principle of League of Legends is to save the Han people. There is no hostility towards Song Dynasty and Dolly. In addition, the alliance's power structure is relatively loose, and it is obvious that it will not become a very aggressive country. You can be Dolly's friend for a long time. The addition of Master Yi Deng also has a great positive effect on the League of Legends. The reputation of Yuan Wuju is higher than that of Nan Ziren and Qiu Qinren. Such a character serving as an alliance elder will play a very good advertising role. Not to mention how much help these four people can bring to the alliance. Besides, through them, the alliance can also establish contact with the Duan family in Dolly and exchange information. The benefits are simply not too many. Xiao Ming's only worry before was that Master Yi Deng was thin-skinned. Even if he had been persuaded by several apprentices, he might not be embarrassed to ask to join. So after Nan Ziren returned to Junshan, without waiting for Master Yi Deng to ask for it, he came up to the pole and begged them to join, and took the initiative to build the steps for others. Now, it is a matter of course that Master Yi Deng and others are stationed in Junshan. All government affairs were delegated to them. Nan Ziren was relieved and left Junshan with Yang Guxiran and headed to Taizang Peak to find Qiu Qinren. This time, he went openly. Yinggu pretended to be a disciple of the beggar clan and served him. I didn't expect that when the alliance leader arrived, Qiu Qinren would personally come to receive him. Just find a way to make Qiu Qinren laugh wildly and give Yinggu a chance to find out that he is an enemy. The leader of the alliance is here to visit the Iron Palm Gang. The top and bottom of the Iron Palm Peak are blooming. Leader, please come in. Looking at the short old man Ingus Han with erratic eyes, Yinggu looked suspicious in her eyes. This man's figure is very similar to the assassin that night, but he doesn't have the demeanor of a master at all. It's impossible no matter how you look at it. Xiao Ming knew very well that this was not Qiu Qinren, the leader of the Iron Palm Gang, but his twin brother Qiu Jianzhang. Qiu Qinren is a child of destiny, and his martial arts skills are not far from those of the five great masters of the Central Plains. But this Qiu Jianzhang is stubborn and has poor martial arts skills. He always pretends to be his brother and cheats people everywhere. If he doesn't fight, he will not be discovered. In the original novel, even Wang Feng was deceived for a short time. But Xiao Ming has known about his existence for a long time. Ever since Hong Qigong and Nancy Ren came to pay homage to the mountain, Qiu Qinren has tried his best to restrain his brother and warned him not to provoke the two top masters of the Beggars sect. Therefore, Qiu Jianzhang rarely appears in front of Xiao Ming. Could it be that he is so bold today that he dares to come out and cheat himself? Let's wait and see. Boss Qiu, you are too polite. In the past 3 years, our two gangs have helped each other and beat the Jurchen barbarians to tears. I came here specially to thank you. The flowery sedan chair was carried by everyone, and the development of the Iron Palm Gang in the Jin Kingdom was actually more than 10 times worse than that of the Beggars Gang. However, after all, we are all colleagues of the League of Legends, so we must give them enough face. Sure enough, when these words came out, the spirits of the Iron Palm Gang members around were shocked, their eyes were sharp, and their postures were upright. They all felt that it was an honor to be praised by the leader of the League of Legends. Although my brother is no longer in the martial arts world, the legend of my brother has been circulating in the martial arts world. Since Nan Ziren established the League of Legends, his fame in the martial arts world has skyrocketed, second only to the deceased Wang Chongyang. Nan Ziren came to the Iron Palm Gang to pay his respects and thank them. Even though he knew that this was a commercial blow, he still gave the Iron Palm Gang a lot of face. Qiu Jianzhang happily saluted Nan Ziren, saying some polite words such as "I don't deserve it" and "your gang is still more awesome," while welcoming the two into the gang. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 1568. That night, Qiu Jianzhang held a banquet to entertain Nan Ziren, accompanied by several major figures from the Iron Palm Gang, and the guests and hosts enjoyed themselves. Nan Ziren also casually gave some tips on the martial arts of several leaders. I gained a lot of gratitude. Qiu Jianzhang felt that he had benefited a lot. If he opened his mouth to point out the leader of the Iron Palm Gang, he would be clearly bullying others. Everyone is talking about friendship among equals, and the leader of the Beggar clan gives advice to the leader of the Iron Palm clan. It is not nice to hear such words spread out. But Nan Ziren was instructing several leaders of the Iron Palm Gang, which was not considered rude. Qiu Jianzhang and those leaders also wanted to express their sincere thanks. When traveling in the world, Kung Fu is the most basic thing. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, Nancy Wren saw that the meal was almost done and the atmosphere was good, so she said, "Brother Qiu, I have something important to discuss with you, this." As he spoke, Xiao Ming looked around. The obvious meaning was to ask Qiu Jianzhang to clear the place. If he wanted to talk about business, only his most trusted people would be left behind. Qiu Jianzhang understood what Nan Ziren meant and waved most of the idlers away, leaving only 6 or 7 capable men in the gang. If it were Qiu Qinren himself, he probably wouldn't need to keep anyone. Even if Nancy Wren was very strong, he wouldn't be able to take down Qiu Qinren silently. It's a pity that Qiu Jianzhang is an imposter, and he doesn't dare to face Nancy Wren alone. I kept a few of the more capable ones. It was expected that no matter how high Nancy Wren's martial arts skills were, she would not be able to defeat so many people in a short period of time. As long as one person shouts and calls for the thousands of Iron Palm Gang members outside, Nan Ziren will be able to flee no matter how good his martial arts skills are. Of course, this is just an insurance measure for Qiu Jianzhang. He didn't feel Nancy Wren's hostility. If you really feel hostility, wouldn't it be better to just serve tea to the guests? He actually really wants to have a good relationship with the leader of the League of Legends. Unfortunately, Xiao Ming really came with malicious intentions. He really couldn't subdue so many people at once. However, isn't there Yinggu beside him? Yinggu's martial arts, after being guided by Nan Ziren in the past few years, has faintly surpassed the level of the Quanzhen 7th son. It is not easy to deal with the leader of the Iron Palm Gang. The two of them immediately attacked. Yinggu and Nan Ziren each knocked down 4 people. Xiao Ming was deliberately trying to save face for her. Seeing the 7 masters around him being knocked unconscious quickly, he also had his acupuncture points tapped. Qiu Jianzhang knew that the Iron Palm Gang had hit the iron plate this time. The leader of the Beggar clan is deliberately planning to attack the Iron Palm clan, and his plans must be very big. He was clearly helping his twin brother block a shot. My brother's sense of smell is indeed very keen. Qiu Jianzhang suddenly figured it out. My younger brother originally hated him for pretending to be him. Recently, his younger brother hid his whereabouts and went to join the Iron Palm Gang's army. Instead, he allowed himself to pretend to be him and sit at Iron Palm Peak. It's obvious there's something fishy going on. Unfortunately, I thought it was to stabilize people's hearts. Let the chief helmsman and the helpers in the army work in a down-to-earth manner. With great difficulty, he made an exception and allowed himself to pretend to be him and show off his authority. In the past few days, Qiu Jianzhang has been speaking with great authority at Iron Palm Peak, which is indeed very satisfying. But it all comes at a price. Now the truth has finally come to light. It turns out that his younger brother Qiu Qinren knew that the leader of the Beggar clan would come to seek revenge on him, so he allowed himself to hold the vat in his hands. Qiu Jianzhang only hoped that Nan Ziren would untie his dumb hole and ask more questions. He doesn't want to die for his brother. He will definitely be obedient and answer all questions. Sure enough, the attendant who had been silent beside Nanziren spoke. The voice turned out to be that of a woman. Leader, what are you doing? Didn't I give you the signal? This Chukinran is not that person at all. Why do you still want to take action? Oh? Could it be that you want to destroy the Iron Palm Gang? You are an alliance. I won't help you do such a treacherous thing. Yinggu is a tough talker, and she has obviously helped Nancy Ren knock down the leaders of the Iron Palm Gang. But he refused to admit it. And Balabala kept scolding Nancy Ren. Xiaoming quickly explained with a smile, be calm and don't be impatient. Be calm and don't be impatient. You will understand soon after I ask. Then he turned to look at Qiu Jianzhang and said, now I want to ask you something. If I say the right thing, just blink twice, if I say the wrong thing, don't blink. Do you understand? Qiu Jianzhang blinked twice quickly. There was a pleading look in his eyes. There is no trace of the bloodiness of martial arts practitioners. You don't want to die, right? Square root. Then you have to behave well. I, Nancy Ren, will not kill anyone who obeys me. Aren't you Chukinran? Square root. You are his twin brother Qiu Jianzhang. Your brother is very powerful in martial arts. You can't do anything about it, right? Square root. Is your brother Chukinran hiding in Iron Palm Peak? Do you know where your brother has gone? Did he deliberately keep you here and pretend to be him to lie to me? Square root square root. It seemed that there were some questions in this sentence. Xiaoming thought about it for a while, and after confirming that Qiu Jianzhang would not resist, he opened his dumb hole and let him speak for himself. Qiu Jianzhang also did it on purpose. Always answer a simple question like right or wrong, otherwise it will cause ambiguity. It is more reliable to plead for mercy yourself. So he picked a question that could be ambiguous, and he made no distinction between right and wrong. Force Nangzi Ren to let him speak. Lord Leader, the youngest one is Qiu Jianzhang, and it was my brother who asked me to stay. But I don't dare to lie to you. I asked my brother to promote me to deputy gang leader, so every time you call me Qiu gang leader, I dare to answer. I never called myself Chukinran. Well, Qiu Jianzhang really has some tricks. He knew that when he met Nanziren, he couldn't call him Chukinran by name, and could only use the name of Qiu gang leader. He played such a trick. Anyway, he was also Qiu, and the deputy gang leader was also the gang leader. He came forward to receive Nanziren and regarded himself as the Qiu gang leader. There was no problem. He really knew how to play. In the original novel, Qiu Jianzhang did a lot of bad things and later died at the hands of Guojing and Huang Rong. But the extent of his crimes was actually very limited, at most it was just cheating and deceiving. He didn't even have the courage to do big cases like murder and arson. At that time, the death penalty was to collude with Wanyan Hongli and become a traitor. There is no such crime in this life. Therefore, Xiaoming had no reason to kill him. On the contrary, his face was very useful. He simply subdued him. The 7 leaders who were knocked unconscious were also subdued by Xiaoming. 5 of them. There were 2 diehards who refused to budge, so Qiu Jianzhang simply announced that they were traitors and executed them. They were outstanding talents who could withstand the dual means of life and death and soul transfer. It was a pity. This perfectly explained why the leader of the alliance, Nanziren, had a secret meeting with the leader of the Qiu gang, just to expose the traitor. Little did they know that the current leader of the Qiu gang was the traitor. Next, let the 5 leaders appease the brothers in the gang, and Nanziren and Yinggu took Qiu Jianzhang to question him carefully. The focus was on Chukinran's whereabouts during the time when Yinggu's son was killed. What did he do before and whether there were any emotional changes afterwards? After careful questioning, Ying was 60% sure that her son was probably killed by Qiuqianren. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1569. According to the information provided by Qiu Qianzhang and several leaders, Nanziren and Yinggu figured out a fact. Qiuqianren was indeed deliberately hiding from them. Qiuqianren had long known that the divine fortune teller Yinggu came to the headquarters of the Beggars sect to find the leader of the League of Heroes, Nanziren. After all, Yinggu was brought to Junshan by Master Yideng and others. They did not know that Qiuqianren was Yinggu's enemy. They even had some good feelings for Qiuqianren because of their participation in the establishment of the League of Heroes, so they naturally did not think of hiding their tracks and deliberately hiding it from the Iron Palm Gang. If Nanziren was not in Junshan, they might have taken Yinggu to the Iron Palm Peak. So it was normal for Qiuqianren to find out this news. According to the information he had, Nanziren and Yinggu did not know that he was the culprit. He had no need to hide at all. But Qiuqianren himself had a guilty conscience. He asked himself that his martial arts were not as good as Nanziren's, and he was not justified in this matter. If he is interrogated by Nanziren, he might be exposed. Even Nanziren's disappearance in the past few years was regarded by him as a sign of his own crime. Qiuqianren never thought that the leader of the Beggars sect would go to the far west to participate in the war between Mongolia and Khwarezm. He probably hadn't even heard of Khwarezm. Frightened, Qiuqianren used many means to protect himself. The first is to use a substitute. He hid himself and remotely controlled the affairs of the Iron Palm Gang, and pushed his twin brother out as a shield. If he was lucky, he might even die for himself. Alas, he treated his own brother like this, and Qiuqianren's character was really not very good. The second is to spread spies. Collect intelligence specifically on the Beggars section. He hopes to analyze from the clues whether Nanziren and Yinggu have locked on him. The third is to actively march north. He hopes to make enough contributions to atone for his sins and save his life. This is the last resort, and it may not be used, but Qiuqianren thinks it is better to be prepared. Therefore, in the past few years, the Iron Palm Gang has been very concerned about the northern expedition to the Jin Kingdom. The degree of attention is second only to the surveillance of the Beggar Gang. Unfortunately, Qiuqianren is willing but not strong enough. He is good at organizing gang activities, but he has no great ability in military and politics. Under his command, the achievements of the Iron Palm Gang in the northern expedition can only be said to be better than nothing. Qiu Qianzhang is a guy who is more likely to fail than to succeed, so Qiuqianren did not tell his brother at all, but several trusted subordinates knew some of the truth. Now that several of them have been subdued by Nanziren, with the confessions pieced together, Qiuqianren's killing of Yinggu's son has become clear. Even his little thoughts are very obvious now. It's nothing more than dragging and hiding. As long as he doesn't meet Yinggu and Nanziren to confront, even the leader of the League of Legends has no right to deal with the leader of the Iron Palm Gang. In addition, as long as the Iron Palm Gang has made enough merits and has strong strength, even Nanziren will be afraid to do anything to Qiuqianren, a local lord with a large army. Master, you will not spare the death penalty of that evil man because of the merits of the Iron Palm Gang, right? You promised to help me get revenge. Yinggu asked Nanziren in a slightly trembling voice. There was no trace of the previous arrogant attitude in her tone, almost begging. She has been with Nanziren for the past few years and has witnessed his means of turning the clouds and rain with his hands, playing with two powerful countries. Although Yinggu didn't say anything, she admired him in her heart. She could also feel the sincerity of this leader to save the Han people. For this major event, Nanziren can cooperate with the Western poison Wang Feng, so in the future he is likely to forgive Qiuqianren, who already has a cooperative relationship. Nanziren is Yinggu's biggest hope for revenge. Once he protected Qiuqianren, he would have no chance to take revenge, and his son would have died in vain. Xiaoming knew that Yinggu's mentality must be very sensitive and fragile at this time. He didn't dare to joke with her, or even talk in circles, for fear of irritating her to the point of madness. Just one sentence calmed her emotions. "Don't worry, Qiuqianren deserves to die." Yinggu finally breathed a sigh of relief with these decisive words. Tears almost fell. The prerequisite for Xiaoming to let the evildoers go is that there are bigger evildoers to fight. Wang Feng was let go because of the existence of Mongolia. Now that the crisis of Mongolia has been resolved, and the Jin kingdom has no ability to turn the tables, Xiaoming no longer needs to treat Qiuqianren gently. In fact, Xiaoming needs Qiuqianren to die. Only when he dies can Nanziren use Qiu Qianzhang and others to completely control the power of the Iron Palm Gang. Of course, Xiaoming had another thing in his mind that he didn't tell Yinggu: Qiuqianren should indeed die, and he can die. But whether he can be killed is not certain. If the game system is committed to protecting Qiuqianren, he may not be able to deal with it. It seems to have verified Xiaoming's thoughts. Then another half a year passed. Nanziren took Yinggu to track down Qiuqianren everywhere, but he was always avoided in advance. Qiuqianren learned that Nanziren went to the Iron Palm Peak and killed his 2 confidants. Then he was going to join the Iron Palm Gang's army. With such aggression, he felt that he was probably exposed. In addition, Qiu Qianzhang had not passed on any information to him. Qiuqianren understood that this was the rhythm of even his own brother betraying him. It's a pity that the army of the Iron Palm Gang is in a mess and has never made much contribution. Qiuqianren has no confidence that he can redeem himself. If the army of the Iron Palm Gang has the combat effectiveness of the army of the Beggar Gang, Qiuqianren will not be afraid of Nanziren. He can rely on the army to kill Nanziren and Yinggu, who came alone. But the army under his command is too weak and he dare not rely on it. So the leader of the Qiu Gang used his light skill of floating on water and ran away. "Even if I can't afford to offend you, can't I hide from you?" Qiuqianren is confident that as long as he is not caught face to face by Nanziren, he will not be caught by Nanziren with his light skill. He doesn't believe that as the leader of the Beggar Gang and the leader of the League of Legends, how much time can Nanziren spend playing hide and seek with him? If it doesn't work, I will run to the deep mountains and old forests of Annan to see if you will chase me. Faced with Qiuqianren's rogue tactics, Nanziren and Yinggu looked at each other in bewilderment. This is simply looking for a needle in a haystack. Qiuqianren has rich experience in the martial arts world and is extremely skilled in martial arts. In addition to the system's intermittent help, if he really wants to hide, I'm afraid we have to mobilize the entire League of Legends to find him. But that would be putting the cart before the horse. Now the most important task of the League of Legends is to quickly eliminate the remaining forces of the Jin Kingdom and save the Han people in the north. It's okay to take time out to help Yinggu avenge her personal grudge, but you must not use too much of the League's power. It's really worrying. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 1570. It took Xiaoming several days in reality and several months in the secret realm of the legend of the Condor heroes to find the right way. If you want to see Qiuqianren, you have to go through the main storyline. When the Huashan sword contest is held, all the top masters will basically be present. In the original novel, Qiuqianren was also subdued by Master Yideng there and became monk Cin. As long as Nanziren goes to Huashan, there is a high probability that the Huashan sword contest will be triggered. I actually wasted several days before thinking of it. It's really stupid. It's not the style of a top professional player. Oh, by the way, I'm not a professional player, haha, it doesn't matter. Nanziren and Yinggu rode side by side to the west and arrived at the foot of Huashan in no time. Huashan is called Ziu among the 5 mountains. The ancients used the 5 mountains to compare the 5 classics, saying that Huashan is like the spring and autumn annals, with solemnity and killing. Among the famous mountains in the world, it is the most dangerous. The two came to the Shinsen Pavilion at the south entrance of Huashan Mountain, and saw 12 large dragon vines growing beside the pavilion. They were tall and strong, with hollow branches, just like flying dragons. In the original novel, Guo Jing had thought of creating 12 ancient and majestic boxing moves based on the postures of these 12 large dragon vines. Xiaoming looked at the dragon vines for a long time, and he couldn't think of what kind of boxing he could create. Could it be that his talent was not even better than that of Guo Jing, a silly boy? This was too depressing. Of course, Xiaoming himself knew it very well. A person's talent cannot be measured by simple intelligence level. Take playing chess for example. They are all things that compete with brain power, but everyone is good at different things. Some people are good at chess, some are good at Go, and some are good at Go Bang, and so on. Guo Jing is the kind of person who is wise but foolish. Although he learns everything very slowly, once he gets the hang of it in a certain field, his achievements are simply unmatched by others. This is true for martial arts and military tactics. After Guo Jing grew up, he was not only a martial arts master, but also a world-famous general. Even with Huang Rong's intelligence, she could not reach his level. So, it is normal for Xiaoming to feel that he is not as good as Guo Jing, and there is nothing to be ashamed of. Because the mountain road is steep, Nanziran and Yinggu left their mounts at the foot of the mountain and walked slowly up the mountain. Along the way, they also experienced the magnificent scenery of Huashan, WorldHopping, Zi Box, Shimengping, Qingping, Huixin Stone, Qinke Gorge, Baichi Gorge, finally stopped on a cliff. I saw 2 masters fighting in the center. Several people standing or sitting next to them were watching the fight. As expected, they were all acquaintances. The 2 people fighting were Chiu Qinren, the iron palm water floating, and Zhou Batang, the old naughty boy. The 7 Quanzhen disciples were raiding the battle for their uncle. They didn't even have swords in their hands, which showed that they were full of confidence in their uncle. Watching the battle are 3 top masters, Huang Yaoshi, the East Evil, Hong Qigong, the North Beggar, and Master Yideng, the South Emperor, and their followers. Currently, only Wang Feng, the West Evil, is absent. He is far away in the Central Plains as the leader of a tribe, and his position is not particularly stable. It may take several months to go back and forth to the Central Plains. So it is reasonable for him not to participate in the Huashan sword contest. However, considering the game system, the black hand behind the scenes, Wang Feng might really show up. Hong Qigong is accompanied by Guo Jing and Huang Rong, and Master Yideng has 4 people serving him, fishing, woodcutting, farming and reading. They are really free. They all came to Huashan. The League of Legends doesn't care? The Beggars sect doesn't care? All the bases occupied in the Jin Kingdom are gone? Of course, this is not the case. The reason why they appear here is because of the plot. Otherwise, with the large scale of the League of Legends, it is impossible for them to all come to Huashan. Most of them should stay in their bases to look after the house. It is already a great honor for Huashan sword contest to let Hong Qigong and Master Yideng come to play when they are free. And the 7 sons of Quanzhen, they have a lot of things to do in Mongolia. They are not participants in the Huashan sword contest. Except Qiu Chuji, others really shouldn't come. Only Huang Yaoshi was originally an idle person, so it is quite reasonable for him to come to Huashan. It's just that the people around him are a little unreasonable. The master came to participate in the second Huashan sword contest. Lu Qinfeng's legs have been well for a long time, so of course he has to serve. So the young couple Lu Guining and Chen Yajia also came. In the past few years, the 2 of them have been married, and the couple lives happily. It is a time of deep love. If it weren't for their father and master, they would not come. There are two people who happily followed Huang Yaoshi to Huashan to watch the fun. They are Shago and Zhang Ning'er. Huh? You ask why the two of them appeared in Huashan? This is what happened. Nanziran brought Shago out of Niojia village and taught her to practice the Changshengju internal energy. He hoped to treat her brain nerves. After a period of hard work, Shago gradually became less stupid. This made Xiaoming very happy. Later, in order to save Huang Rong, Nanziran took Yanggu to Mongolia, and entrusted Zhang Ashan, Han Xiaoying, Han Baozhu, Li Ping and others to follow up on the matter of accompanying Shago to practice and heal her wounds. After a period of recuperation, Shago was really not stupid anymore. And she remembered a lot of things from her childhood. Because Chu Lingfeng was expelled from the sect by the East Evil, he never mentioned the name of Huang Yaoshi to his daughter. But it was impossible to hide his name from his daughter. Now Shago remembered the past, and during the conversation, Han Xiaoying and others immediately knew that this girl was actually the disciple of the East Evil Huang Yaoshi. They quickly sent someone to send a letter to Peach Blossom Island. After hearing that his disciple Chu Lingfeng had died and left behind a daughter, Huang Yaoshi put down the physics and chemistry experiments he was doing and rushed to Junction as quickly as possible. He also took Shago to carefully check the Chu family's house in Niojia village and found the secret room built by Chu Lingfeng and the suicide note left behind. Since then, Huang Yaoshi has taken Shago with him, intending to teach her carefully after returning to Dehua Island. He taught Shago everything that Chu Lingfeng wanted to learn but didn't learn, especially the math, physics and chemistry knowledge he had just learned. Let us sympathize with Shago for a second. Living in the southern Song dynasty, she actually had to learn these courses. It's pitiful. Shago is innocent and has the best relationship with Zhang Ning'er, who has just come of age. Zhang Ning'er is very reluctant to leave Shago, her good girlfriend. Coincidentally, Zhang Ning'er also likes math, physics and chemistry very much, which is a rare animal among girls. The key is that when Xiaoming took her with him, he often talked about a lot of math, physics and chemistry knowledge. He laid a foundation for her early. So, when Huang Laoxia and Zhang Ning'er met, they immediately hit it off. It is said that Xiaoming's textbooks have been circulated in the southern Song dynasty for many years through the hands of the Quanzhen beggars gang. Unfortunately, not many people have learned the basics of them. Most people still regard this knowledge as a trick and sneer at it. Only Huang Yaoshi has studied it in depth, but this also makes him unpopular and it is difficult for him to find people with common topics. Now that he has met Zhang Ning'er, he is very happy. He immediately accepted her as his last disciple and brought her and Shagu back to Peach Blossom Island. If it were not for the plot, Huang Yaoshi would not have come to the Huashan sword contest this time. He would rather stay on the island to do experiments.